All right. Hello, everybody. Everybody, go ahead and start to trickle on in. Welcome to our Bar Prep Cheat Code event. My name is DeAndre Aubrey. I am the founder of Legally Fit. And what we're going to do for a second is just hang tight, give everybody about 5 minutes or so. People might be getting off of work right now, getting out of class, etc. So for about 5 minutes, we'll just do a little icebreaker, a little talking while we let some people get into the session to make sure they don't miss any of the good stuff. All right. So I'm going to put a link into the chat. Okay, let me grab that link. And this link is going to just have some questions that we can go through. And let me see who is in our meeting, what exam you guys are going to be taking, what school you go to. Do a little icebreaker. All right, so we have copy link. All right. In the chat, go ahead and click on that link. And yeah, the first question on there is what month and year are you taking the bar exam? Let's see what we have. I know a lot of us are going to be taking this upcoming July, but we might have some students in here planning ahead, getting ready for February, getting ready for next July even. So let's see what we have. Okay. Okay, make sure you guys are clicking on that link and you should be able to. Andrea said, what'd you say, Andrea? I didn't get a link. No link. Let's do this. Oh, I sent it to host and panelists. How about now? There we go. Okay, cool. Now I see the votes coming in. So we have July 2025, Feb 2026. All right. Okay. What else do we have? All right. So it looks like most of the people are taking either the July upcoming or 2020 because we got somebody in 2027. All right. That's good to see. All right. Let's go to the next question. What school? Let's see what schools we have representation from. What schools did you or will you graduate from? UC Berkeley. Okay. Got some Northern California. USC, fight on. Franklin Pierce. Okay. Colleges of Law. I know colleges of law very well. Always get to see you all. Thurgood Marshall in Texas. Awesome. UCLA, Southern. Love it. All right. We got a little bit of diversity in here. That's always good. All right. This is the last question that we're going to ask. And this is a great transition into our session today. Let me check the pulse on how are we feeling about the bar exam? How are we feeling about preparing for it and or taking it? Just give me a little bit of what the emotions are. And feel free to be as authentic as you're feeling. Is it scared? Is it nervous? Also, is it excited and ready? What is the pulse? What are you guys feeling right now regarding preparing and studying? Nervous, exclamation point, anxious. Okay, great. That's right. Waiting for it, ready to change the world. Okay, scared and nervous, not ready. I was giving up before I got introduced to you, but here I am. Well, all right. Well, I'm happy you are here. And yes, this is an exam that's definitely passable. Okay, a bit sad. I just got 226 points last UBE. Is all right. We can get that up. Not ready. Okay. All right, so not too many excited and readies, but hopefully we can transition that after this informational session that we're about to go through. So that is really the whole purpose of this particular meeting, right? We are in April. The typical study period for bar prep is the 10-week period. And so for those that are taking this July, you still have time to get your mind right, get your life right, and start making decisions that can actually move you forward in passing. Do know, as again, I just went down the list of the different emotions. You are in company when you are feeling nervous, anxious, but also realize you don't necessarily have to. And again, that's my objective is with this information that we're going to go through, that you're going to feel empowered, have a lot more clarity as to what this process looks like, what are the common pitfalls, what are the things that you need to do, right? All of those things. So let me go ahead now and begin the presentation. As we go through this presentation, there's the Q&A function within the Zoom webinar. So as we're going through it, feel free to type in any questions in real time about anything that I'm talking about. Chances are I will not answer them right away, but we will have a Q&A section at the end where I'll start by looking through those to see if it was something that I did not touch on. And then I'll also give some of you all an opportunity to unmute if you'd rather talk about your questions as well. So we're going to go through the entire presentation, put in your questions as we go, and then also we'll have a designated section at the end for Q&A. Okay, so let me go ahead and do some share screen access. So today we are talking about the bar prep cheat code, what the best bar taker does differently and why they pass. All right, so the first question we have here is, why is the bar exam so hard, right? Depending on what jurisdiction you're taking and what their state pass rate is, like we've seen pass rates as low as 30%. All right, and so this exam is hard. That's one thing to recognize and accept, but the question is why? All right, here's my answer to it. The system is flawed, okay? Why is the system flawed? It's two reasons. The exam is not practical, okay? And students are not properly prepared. These are the two reasons. Let's talk about why the exam is not practical first, all right? This is essentially our opportunity to vent about how ridiculous this exam is, because even though I am a professional in this space, I'm here to train you and get you ready. I also have my opinions, and I think that this exam is ridiculous. All right, 13 subjects. That's way too much law to memorize, right? Every single one of us who's going to then go into practice is going to practice in one, two, maybe two, and at most three areas of law. Nobody is practicing in 13 subjects. So why do we have to know so much law for so many varieties of areas of legal concentration? All right. Next, impractical time conditions. We do not operate in a space, right, in the legal field where a client comes into our office and we immediately take their situation, analyze their situation, go to court, get the outcome, right, et cetera, all within a 1 hour time frame or a 30-minute time frame. We have time to sit, research, give it to an assistant, right, give it to a paralegal, take our time with it. And so with the time conditions that we have, not only is it just right, impractical and not what we experience in real life, it just adds on a whole nother extra layer now that we have to get comfortable with, which is the pressure. Not only do you need to know the law, you got to be able to be in the hot seat, right? Which there is some transferable skills in that regard. If you are going to be a litigation, right, attorney, you do need to be able to handle pressure and whatnot. But again, the time conditions are just a little too impractical. And then the next one, right? The exam not being practical, it's only offered twice a year. This is really unfortunate, right? Like for all this information that you have to learn, what's the typical, right, way that this works? Somebody spends 10 weeks or more just cramming in all this information. Most of us, at least in our first time, we don't work, we don't do anything during these 10 weeks, and we just give it everything. And then after that 10 weeks is over, you get back to regular life. You get back to your job, your family, your friends, all these things. And over that time, just information is just constantly seeping out, seeping out. You don't typically find out your results for like another 4 months, 4 or 5 months. And so over that 4 or 5 months, you've lost all that information. And then if you unfortunately get the news that you didn't pass, you have to now put your life back on hold and what feels like start over from scratch. Now, I always advise you're not actually starting over from scratch. There is some things still left in the tank there. But again, right, it's not necessarily ideal to take a 4 or 5 month break. In theory, maybe it would be a 1 month break, couple of weeks, get those result backs and know if you need to get back in the saddle. All right. So I gave 3 bullet points here. We can make this list much longer as to the reasons why this exam is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, everybody, this is our exam. All right. So we cannot do much about the left side of this, right? For this reason why the system is flawed, we have to accept this. So it's going to be the right-hand side that is in our control. So let's talk about why students are not properly prepared, because we have a hand in that as well. A lot of students go into not only their preparation, but then also ultimately the exam, not really having a shot to succeed. Here's some of the top reasons why. Students are not prepared for success. And this is really a loaded bullet point. There's so many ways, and we're going to talk about a lot today, to be prepared. Are you mentally prepared for the rigor of bar studying? Is your lifestyle and your circumstances prepared, right, to be able to dedicate this much time to studying? During law school, right? Did you apply yourself and go through the things where you really learned the skills and the law in a way where it stuck, right? Not in a way where it just, you crammed information in and then again, it fell out right after the final. But do we have some transferable law and skills that we can take into bar prep with us? All right. So a lot of ways to be prepared. Are we coming into bar prep knowing what our strengths and weaknesses are? That's another good one. The next one, students don't choose the best program for them, right? This one, in large part, really speaks to first-time takers, but even repeat takers might get in this problem as well. But for first-time takers, what is commonly the trend is you go to a school and there is a popular choice, whether it's a popular choice by the students or there's a popular choice that the school is pushing. Students will just sign up for a program because it is referred to them instead of doing their due diligence and seeing if that program caters to their learning style, their needs, right? And a lot of us, what we end up doing is going with one of the cookie cutter programs. And now, by all means, some students can work perfectly fine in that environment. But in this day and age, right, with all of the competition and invention and intuition that people have now, what they put into their products, this is the time to see what else is out there that is tailored to what you need. All right. And so I always advise students, whether it's Legally Fit, Barbary, Themis, this program, that program, like make an informed decision. Don't just go with where the herd is going. All right. And then lastly, even if you choose a program that's perfect for you, or at least a suitable program, you still have to follow the program. You still have to put in the necessary amount of dedicated work. And I've been doing this now for going on 11 years, right? And what I've seen change over the years is the bandwidth that we have, and understandably so, right? We've gone through a lot as a nation. We've gone through COVID. We're all experiencing overpacked schedules and burnout, et cetera, right? But the exam has not gotten any easier. So, this traditional notion of you have to put in these long, steady days and steady hours has not really changed, but people try to force fit this. I want to treat this like a, 5 hour a day, 6 hour a day commitment. And you're just putting yourself at risk when doing so, right? Because again, look back to the left, 13 subjects, right? It's a lot to do. The time conditions, it's a lot to do. All right, so let's go into it some more. We're going to talk about more on how to get prepared. And first, we're going to start off with why traditional companies don't work. Okay. So first off, a lot of times you have subpar materials and resources. You're spending 8+ hours watching boring and ineffective videos. And the reality here is that that's just then becomes a waste of time. If you're watching videos that then you still feel like you have to go back and still teach yourself the law or fill in the blanks or the gaps, that's when the videos are ineffective. Another one that's really big is inconsistent rules and structure due to different authors, right? There's some companies, I won't name any by name, that have really been put together really quickly and in a short time frame. And to do so, what they do is say, all right, let me look at some of the people in the audience to use your guys' names. They say, hey, Liana, I want you to do the contracts outline. All right, Marina, I want you to do the contracts video lecture, right? Get on camera and talk about it. And then we have Rob. Rob, I want you to do the contracts essays. Well, the three of you don't get together and work together. You all do your own version of contracts. And sure, the rules are similar, but they're not the same exact rules or in the same exact organization. What does that leave you with as a student? Having to deal with that inconsistency and figure out which one are you going to settle on. Lastly, a lot of times you get the excessive materials, okay, instead of concise and prioritize to what is actually tested. If you haven't, Google and look at the pictures of people getting their books from some of these traditional companies where it's stacked up to the height, of a small child. I've seen people use it as TV stands, right, making memes out of it. But yes, you get sit and inundated with so much material where it's just like, let's just cover any and everything that could possibly be thrown at you, which then overwhelms you, right? You want something that's going to be more prioritized to the heavily tested topics. Next, outdated strategy. A lot of these traditional companies use one-size-fits-all strategies, generic schedules, and there's information overload. There's too much passive learning. They don't account for how real students actually learn under pressure. And what's the result? You end up feeling overwhelmed, you fall behind, and you never build confidence, right? And that's going to be an issue, right? Once you fall behind in bar prep, it's really hard to get back on track. What you're going to learn and what we try to achieve with Legally Fit is that by even starting a week earlier with orientation and how much involvement that we have with workshops as we go, the whole goal is to stay on track the entire time. So that way we know what's going on and we're not falling behind. Okay. Because again, 10 weeks, 13 subjects, once you fall behind, it's almost impossible to catch back up. Lack of guidance and support. Okay. So oftentimes what your experience is a get your books and good luck, right? With these traditional companies. The entire program is pre-recorded lectures. There's no outlet for questions. There's no outlet for assistance and guidance. So you're basically just figuring it out all on the go. The reality is that every student is going to face something during bar prep where they have to make an adjustment, right? And so what you want is some guidance and support on how to make those changes. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into what the 3 cheat codes are, okay? So that was why the traditional companies don't work. Here are the cheat codes that I want you all to take away from today. So number 1 is a mindset shift, okay? So the first one is welcoming mistakes and properly learning from them. I tell students all the time, when you get into bar prep, right, we're going to see the numbers here in a second on how much practice you have to do. It's a lot, okay? Let's just use one figure, 2,200 multiple choice questions. I tell students all the time, chances are you are going to get more questions wrong than you are right. And so with that, we have to be prepared on how we handle that reoccurring theme of getting something wrong. The wrong thing to do is to interpret that as an indicator of your readiness to pass, right? This is not an indicator of your readiness to pass, but rather an indicator of an opportunity for you to learn. So you have to have fun with the mistakes and take those on the cheek and be able to say, you know what did I miss here? And I use the popular phrase, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? You take pride in never getting the same thing or same pattern wrong again, right? But welcoming mistakes is a big thing. What happens is students who are too hard on themselves and beat themselves up and are not ready or used to getting things wrong, they're going to then get out of a good flow of studying. They're going to think they're not going to pass and have the spiraling negative thoughts, and right, it all goes downhill from there. So be ready to be wrong, but be ready to enjoy it and learn from it. Next, not obsessing over memorization. This is another classic that we probably learned this lesson to some extent in law school. It's always about understanding over memorization. You can give me a student who has memorized every bit of the law that's tested on the bar, and chances are they won't pass because they put all their time and energy into that. But you don't know how to issue spot. You don't know how to apply thoroughly and get the points, right? You don't know how to handle curveballs when you see something unique. So you don't want to obsess over memorization. Really, the focus is on making sure you understand the law and developing your test taking skills. Okay. Memorization comes with time, and then there's a dedicated time towards the end to hyper focus on the memorization. Next, accept the law, don't fight it, involve emotions, or try to reconcile it. Okay. So, law school law is not the same thing as bar law, is not the same thing as real life law. Okay, one more time. Law school law is not the same as bar law, is not the same as real life law. So I live in bar law. Like I help law students as well, right? But I live in bar law. When I get students coming in from law school or I get students coming in from practice, there's always something that comes up that's conflicting. And so, what I try to tell students to do is be in the mindset of, hey, accept that this is a different universe and simply accept it. But guess what? A lot of times, whether it's ego, lack of a desire to learn something new, stuck in our ways, whatever it may be, a lot of students will fight the law. When you're doing that, you are wasting time. You need to come in, simply see what's going on and accept it. I see a hand was being raised. If you remember, if you have a question, everybody, feel free to just type in the Q&A section what your question is, and then we'll get to them at the end. All right, next is don't involve emotions. All right, emotions also come into play when you have an emotional desire for what the outcome should be. It's a criminal procedure case, and you think that the defendant should not be able to suppress the evidence or should, right? Or it's a criminal law case and you think they should be found guilty of the murder. We have to make sure we always stay attached to our rules and not our emotions. Okay, it's a big one. So accepting the law, that's the lesson there. Next, lean into the pace and natural discomfort. Okay, emphasis on natural discomfort. Bar prep moves very fast. Okay. Again, the traditional period is 10 weeks, 13 subjects. On average, you have about 5 days per subject. These are subjects that each of them got an entire semester when you learned it in law school. So imagine what this accelerated experience is and will feel like, okay? Nothing about it is comfortable. This is also why it's such a big importance of how you learn, both from your provider and what they give you, and even yourself. You have to prioritize your time and your energy on what's most tested. But all that to say, the pace moves fast. And what is inevitable is that, let's say you're dealing with the first topic, contracts, right? And in our first go round with it, let's say I give you 3 days on this first go round. By the end of that third day, let me tell you, you are not going to be ready to move on from contracts. There's going to be a few topics you wish you just had an extra day to go over or an extra day to just like solidify everything. What do some students do? They give in to that desire. And now you're spending an extra day on contracts. Well, if you're spending an extra day on contracts, you're not following the program and moving on to the next subject, which is property. And now you're already creating a fall behind scenario, right? And then that snowballs. You finally catch up in property, but now you're 2 days behind on Civ Pro, the next subject, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So what you have to do is lean into that pace. Make sure you're using your time to the best of your ability. Right. Again, get clarity, right? And use that time to the best of your ability. And when it's time to move on, you just have to bite that, right? Swallow that pill and bite down and just move on to the next subject. Okay. For my repeat takers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. First time takers, you will experience this and remember that voice. Cause I'm telling you, even when I was in your shoes, I so badly wanted to stay, right? And be a perfectionist and really get something down, but you got to keep moving. All right. Lastly, on mindset shift, everybody, right? Some of us are these type of people and some of us aren't, okay? The what ifs, right? The obsession for more information. I get so many questions in different workshops, or not too much in bar prep because my students are trained to know, don't ask too many of these, right? Well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happened? What if we change this? And my answer to this question always is, in bar prep, we don't have to worry about the what ifs because there's enough what is, right? You have so much law to learn and so many practice questions to go through. If there's any variations that you need to know, you will see it as you continue to do practice. Okay, now don't get me wrong. Every now and again, one little slight variation, if you want to think through that, by all means. But you know who I'm talking to for those that really spend a lot of time thinking through all of these variations and creating questions that then need answers. All right. So that ends up being a distraction. You want to just keep up with the program. And let me tell you, right? Multiple choice banks like Adaptivar, UWorld, within Legally Fit, all the hypos we give you, there are fact patterns where they're like in large part the same, and we throw in the variations that are commonly tested. So you're going to get these little slight variations if you just move on to the next problem. All right. And then lastly, connected to that, similar but also different, are the rabbit holes. Rabbit holes are for situations where students decide to spend now a concentrated time going into a deep dive on an area of law. And this is not good, especially when it's a rarely tested area of law. And again, at the end of the day, the issue with the rabbit holes is back to the whole pace of how bar prep goes, right? Like, you can't overly spend too much time on any particular topic, because this whole game is like, can I get this like large, vast understanding of the law? Not this deep dive into a few topics, but can I get coverage, right, over a bulk of each subject, to where over the 200 multiple choice questions I'm going to do, I can have a satisfactory display of my knowledge of the law. Okay, so we have to avoid the rabbit holes. All right. So now we are in, and then cheat code mindset 1 with Legally Fit, we teach you the mental game, the pacing, and how to keep your composure under pressure. Let's now talk about cheat code number 2, lifestyle prepared. The very first bullet point is my favorite, and this is talking about you must be prepared to study full time. Okay. Now, all right, I know some of us are in here. I work. I have children. I am a caretaker. I'm a dog mom, right? A dog dad, etc. And we have these other time commitments. So it's always ideal, especially for first time takers, to study full time, right? And then if you can't study full time, your goal is always to just get as close to that as possible. Can you pass and work? Yes. Can you pass as a parent? Yes. But we always want to get as close to full time as possible. Now, what does full time look like, right? I put up for you what is not necessarily my program and my recommendation. I'll get to my recommendation, but this is the range, right? The reasonable range. Anywhere from 400 to 650 hours within that 10-week period. Okay. So that takes us down to weekly. You are putting in 40 to 65 hours, right? You are studying on average 6 to 7 days, is what most students do. And you are spending anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. All right. And again, even the hours per day could be less, especially if you're on that 40 hours a week, depending on how many days you're spreading it out. But yes, on average, 8 to 12 hours per day. Now, again, there is no magic number for each individual in here on like what you need to do to pass. That's why it is my approach to err on the side of caution, right? I rather overshoot my study time than undershoot. Again, given the nature that this exam is hard to pass, that this exam is only offered twice a year, I want to really make sure I give it everything I can to make sure I'm done with it. Okay. So my recommendation and what my program is, we aim for that 650. Now we'll talk about it here in a second, right? We've worked with the part-time students, the working students, the parents, et cetera. We can still get it done. But my recommendation is if you can carve out full-time, I want to push for that 600 to 650 range, right? So for that weekly, that's giving me 60 to 65 hours, right? For our program, we design it around 6.5 days as the default. Again, can be adjusted as needed. Some end up going a full 7 on some weeks. Some will go 6, some will go 5, et cetera. But I recommend 6.5. Sundays, you could do a half day. And then hours per day, I probably go right in the middle there and go 10, right? Some days, and that'll be the average, meaning some days I might go up to 12 and some days I might be at 8. The days can change depending on what topic you're dealing with and your comfort level with it. All right. So that's my recommendation. Those are the ranges. But a lot of times when I talk to people and they don't pass, one of the first questions I ask is, how much time did you dedicate to studying? Because that is just one of the key ingredients, is that you're just putting in the time. Next, right? Here are some of the little but oh so important things. Preparing your relationships, right? Are you married? Are you in a relationship? How close are you with your family and friends, right? That they're going to be, jarred, shocked, not happy with the change in those relationships during this study period. Those are things that should be prepared beforehand, right? For two reasons. First is that maybe with some preparation, we can avoid the difficult, uncomfortable conversations that we'll have to have in the middle when things are going awry, right? And then that ends up just taking up mental real estate, which we'll talk about here in a second. We don't want those problems. We want to limit problems during this time period. But not only can you avoid issues, if you do it properly and really try to work with them, maybe you can even have these relationships help you. Maybe you have a significant other that can actually help meal prep during this time. Maybe you have a parent that can now provide some emotional support for you, right? Or a place to stay to study, a study space, and things like that. So, really to see how you can leverage those relationships and not have them be, reasons why they are holding you back for these 10 weeks. Next, proper study space and environment. All right. We live in a work from home era, right? Study from home, do everything from home. You need to have a nice look in the mirror and assess, is that going to be what's best for you, right? For those that are studying at home and so often getting up to check the fridge, taking extra unnecessary bathroom breaks because it's so close, right? Playing with the dog, going outside, all those things, right, will be a factor that if you only have 10 hours a day to study, 5 hours a day to study, you need those 5 hours to count, right? And if your study space is taken away from that, where you're only getting a good quality 2 hours, then that's a problem. So not to be underestimated. Make sure you know what your arrangement is. For me, I did my school library Monday through Friday. And so I can't really do something every single day. So to break up the monotony, I would study from home on the weekends. And don't get me wrong, like I definitely found that I was way more productive and focused in the library. But it was okay. On the weekend, I took it a little bit lighter. And it got the job done, right? And it allowed me to go back to the library and lock in and not feel like I was being caged in by the library walls. All right, next is mental space dedicated to bar prep. This is somewhat connected to the other two, but it could include other things as well. I tell students all the time is that, right, you are refreshing on 13 subjects and then being responsible to not know what you're going to get tested on and be ready to answer these questions. I want you living and breathing these topics, right? Like I want you waking up thinking about contracts. I want you using the bathroom thinking about torts. I want you eating lunch thinking about crim law, going to sleep, right, et cetera. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, you take your breaks, right? You have your time where it's uninterrupted. You might have a show that you want to watch at the end of the night or decompress and meditate, right? We have self-care at the bottom there. But the message I'm getting across is this needs to be, right, like what you live and breathe, right? So the more things, right, like if you're working, right, oh, I got this meeting on Monday, I got to prepare for this meeting. Well, now this meeting is working simultaneously in your head with what the irrevocable offer doctrines are, right? And it's getting muddled. So you want to limit the amount of things that take up mental space during this time. Next, I call this the Holy Trinity, right? Diet, sleep, and exercise. All right, it's simple. For this 10-week period, this is as much of a physical exercise as it is a mental one, right? You are putting your body through long study hours. You are studying not only long days, but for weeks, right? In months. And so you need to have your body and your mind able to keep up with these demands, and diet, sleep, and exercise are going to get it done. Diet, right? Keep a healthy diet, sleep, try to get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep. exercise. We're not in bar prep trying to work on our summer bods. We are just trying to get the body moving. I don't want you sitting at a desk for 10 to 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours, and that's it. Just, chair to bed, chair to bed. No, get up, walk, take a 15-minute walk, do a nice little 30-minute exercise, jog, push-ups, right? Just something to get the blood moving and the body moving, right? Goes a long way. Lastly, self-care routine, right? So I told you we were going to talk about this. This is important as well. And what I want you to focus on, if you haven't already in life, is like, how do you master the ability to reset and recharge with limited time, right? It's like this micro resetting. So again, things like walks, right? Putting on music for a nice little 5-minute break, right? Maybe on the weekend, right? Dedicating some time to going to see a movie, having a nice dinner, things that actually reset and recharge you. So you do get that time during bar prep, but it is limited. So it would be advantageous to know what are the things that work for you. And don't do the things that you may want to do, but are counterintuitive to that, right? Don't binge watch 5 episodes of something if you know afterwards you're going to feel like groggy and weird for just watching that many shows in one sitting, right? Don't go hang out with a big group of friends if you know that that group of friends is draining, right? Or family, if that environment's going to be draining. Like, you have to do things that really recharge you because you only get so much time for it during this time period. All right. So that is cheat code number 2, right? These are things that people don't talk about that make a huge difference. Prepare your life for success. And here are the talking points on it. All right. Here's the last cheat code. Oh, I keep on forgetting. I got to tell you what Legally Fit does for you. All right. So Legally Fit provides the clarity, suggestions, and support to make sure you are prepared for success. So before you get started, if you were to sign up today, we have a nice little worksheet to even give you to start thinking through all these things and suggestions on diet, sleep, exercise, etc. Not only do we give it to you beforehand, but if there's ever issues during bar prep, you can also then talk to us and we can help you make any adjustments to your lifestyle as needed or things that you run into. So we are here to help before, during, after, not so much. But hey, if you need us, we're here for you. All right, cheat code number 3, reps and improvement. Reps and improvement, right? It's like, what do they say? I might mess this up a little bit, but I remember the concept, right? Like, to be a master of something, you have to put in 10,000 hours, And so the message behind that is that if you want to be good at something, you got to do it over and over and over and over again. And so this is another top reason I hear from students when they don't pass. First thing I say is, how many hours did you study? Right. And then I say, okay, how many practice essays did you do? How many MBEs? How many PTs? And you'll be surprised that sometimes I hear some astonishingly low numbers. So look at this here. I want you to do 100 essays. That's no small and easy feat. 2,200 multiple choice questions and 8 PTs. So my program puts that into the schedule already. There's nothing additional you have to do. So that's the good thing about our program, and that it bakes in all of that practice. If you're doing another program that doesn't have those numbers baked in, you need to be finding a way of what you're going to pull from to do this, because you simply, everybody, have to get those reps. Looking at the previous essays that the bar themselves have tested is one of the best ways to study, because you're seeing exactly the patterns, the rhythm, the word choice, right? All these things that's going to be similar to what you see on your exam, right? So you definitely want to be doing these essays, PTs, and MBEs. Now, when you do all of this practice, now here's the next part, right? Like, just like in life, we have to improve, right? You can't keep making the same mistakes. We're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to get that promotion, right? We're never going to, get that marriage and proposal, right? We're never going to get anywhere if we keep on doing the same thing. So in bar prep, one, you want to make sure you are actually receiving feedback and insight on ways to improve. That's where you want the expertise and guidance of somebody to tell you what's going on and how you can improve. Okay, so that's number 1. Now, after you get it, which we know is only half the battle, you got to actually do something with it, right? And use that to progressively develop. So, just to give you an idea of some of the things, right? I remember in bar prep, once I would identify some of my weak areas, I would put a Post-it note on my laptop. If I was failing to use the facts in my analysis. I'm putting a Post-it note on my computer. So every time I look up at my computer and I'm typing my analysis, I'm seeing a reminder, oh, use the facts. And I'm doing that until it's ingrained. And then, okay, I can remove the Post-it note, right? So you use visual cues, you use mental reminders. You have to take the steps to not just get the information and then, throw it out the window. I always tell students too, bar prep is not rocket science, right? Like we're not trying to figure out how to cure cancer, build a rocket or anything like that, right? There's typically very categorical reasons on why and how you can improve. And there's only so many ways to say it. After you're saying it, you just need to take the steps to improve on it, which is just day to day, right? Putting in that skill to work until it's a habit. All right. So there you go. You got to get good feedback, and then you actually have to do something with that feedback and build on it. All right. Legally Fit incorporates the necessary practice into a detailed daily schedule, and you receive scoring, comments, and performance tracking to make sure you are getting feedback and you can see how you're doing as you move through the course. Not only do you do that, if you do our Bar Prep Plus program, which we'll talk about, we have live workshops. So you get to actually get live feedback right in the moment of you doing actual analysis on how you can improve and things like that. And to me, that's the most important, is immediate feedback. Because let me tell you, the traditional other feedback that you'll get, right, from any company, if you submit an essay, you're going to get that feedback anywhere from 24 to like 72 hours later, if not longer. And so by the time you get that back, of course, you're going to be working on other things. So you have to recalibrate to where you're at that time. Immediate feedback is definitely the most powerful. All right. So those are your 3 cheat codes, everybody. Make sure you hold on to those. Take notes. This video is recorded. You can watch this again later, but we're not done yet. Okay. So now we're going to talk about a little bit more about Legally Fit and why we are here to help you pass. And I want to start this section off by saying that we are here for every student, no matter their circumstance. First-time taker, all the way to a 6th-time taker, right? We've helped pass. Traditional student versus non-traditional student, full-time studying, part-time studying, any variation you can think of at this point, we have seen. All right, here's a quick couple of slides on some of the students that have walked through our doors. We had Natasha, who was a low-performing law student in law school, came to us on academic probation, ended up passing on her first attempt. So if you're in that boat where you felt like law school, right, just wasn't the best for you and it was really a struggle, just because that was the case does not mean you can't turn it around and pass this exam. All right, it's just about getting the tools, putting in the work, and getting the results. On the other end of the spectrum, we have high-performing students, right? Which, by the way, is not always an indicator that you'll absolutely pass. A lot of times, high-performing students might have an ego to them of, I got this, I know this, and they don't respect the challenge of the bar, right? And end up falling short. But all that to say, we are very successful with high-performing students as well. Elijah was an example of a top-performing student. He ended up going to USC. So again, I saw some fight-on students in here. But yes, he passed on his first attempt as well. And then lastly, as an example, we have Miriam as an example of our non-traditional student. She was an older student. She was a wife. She was a parent of 2. She was removed for law school for a year. So she had still the, right, getting back into the flow of standardized testing and doing all of this. She also came to us, she didn't come into us to the bar. And yes, she also passed on her first attempt. A lot of these testimonials are on first-time takers. We have a lot of experience with repeat takers as well. One of our best stories is we helped a student raise their score by 178 points to go on and pass. That's a huge, huge jump, right? And so, yes, we're here for, again, whatever your circumstances, our program is customizable and it meets the needs of where you're at. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that makes Legally Fit different. These are the 3 categories. Let's break each one down. The first one is that we have materials that work for you. Okay. So we have lectures that are worth your time. You've never watched lectures, like Legally Fit lectures, and I promise you that. If you've done maybe Barbie videos, Themis videos, etc., the very popular trend is that either it's like a cartoon or you have somebody standing at a podium and just reading off rules. Our recordings are of live classes with real students that make you feel like you're in the classroom yourself. It's a very engaging way. If you can't tell, I like to infuse a little bit of personality and humor into my delivery. So it's something that you can actually feel like you can follow along. And I promise you, as a first generation law student, learning the law in the way it was presented to me wasn't easy. So I had to break the law down in a way that was relatable, right? With mnemonics that I could remember, pop culture and real life examples that like helped it make sense. And that's what I do for you. I translate the law, and then that prepares you to see it in its more traditional context, like construction, right? And all these different things that we may not have grown up on. Next, consistency amongst our materials. Every resource is consistent with its organization, wording of rules, and presentation. You will not have to spend extra time consolidating inconsistent materials. So yes, this is a big reason with that. I said, if I'm going to start my own bar prep company, there's a few things that I know I have to fix. And the first thing was that I wasted way too much time with one of those traditional companies trying to figure out what rule I'm going to settle on because I saw so many variations within that same company's materials. So you'll have the comfort of everything is consistent and ready to go. Next, customize how you learn. This is not a cookie cutter program. Whether you are a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, or read and write learner, we have materials and assignments that cater to you. Learning the law doesn't have to be a dreaded task. With Legally Fit, you will enjoy learning the law. Now that might sound like a impossible task to actually enjoy this process, but I promise you, our students actually enjoy the process of learning. Now, again, there's still going to be some nervousness with the bar and anxiety, etc. But we take out all the hard work, and I'll talk about that again in a little bit. But we take out all the hard work where it's like, this is actually not that bad. And I always say, then it's not that the bar is hard with Legally Fit. It's just a lot of work, right? It's just a lot of repetition of 13 subjects of getting back in the saddle. Okay. But yes, this is customizable. Next, and I love this, right? Strategy and approach. This is one of the, again, undervalued, not as talked about topics of choosing a bar prep company is what are their principles on how they train? What are their principles on how their students go through the program? So our first thing I want to talk about, the power of focus. We believe in a one subject at a time approach. No bouncing around or juggling multiple subjects at a time, right? Like with a traditional company, you might have contracts on Monday, property multiple choice questions on Tuesday, back to contracts on Wednesday, right? Et cetera. With us, it's one subject at a time. And for each subject, it's simple. You have three types of days in our program. You have learn days, essay days, and MBE days, right? Learn days are days dedicated solely to getting into the law. Again, with the customizable approach. Our recommended approach, watch the videos and go through the Legally Fit hypos that ensure you're ready for the patterns for essays and multiple choice. But let's say videos aren't your thing. Well, on Learn Days, you also have your outline and your hypos you can use, right? If you don't want to watch the video, you can just listen to the video. We also have flow charts that you can use on Learn Days if you're more of a visual learner. So whatever it is that floats your boat, on Learn Days, you're leaning into that and just focused on taking in the information. Essay days, guess what? Just essays. Let me tell you, if you do nothing but contracts essays for one day, 6 straight essays, you're going to see certain patterns that you can only see by doing that in a batched work concept, right? So that's our whole goal, is to do batch work to see patterns that you otherwise wouldn't be able to catch. This allows you to dive deep, learn patterns, and truly master a subject. All right, next, walk before you run approach. Whether it's essays, MBEs, or PTs, most companies throw you into the deep end with closed book exams before you are ready. You learn contracts on Monday, and on Tuesday, closed book exam, right? What happens is you underperform. Once you underperform, you feel down, and it decreases your motivation to continue studying, right? And just creates negative momentum. We heavily implement open book practice for progressional development. And guess what? I didn't make this up. This is what everybody does in any industry of life, right? That you want to actually improve. If you want to be a good swimmer, right? We know the best way is not to just get thrown into the deep end and let's see if you can make it to the side. You want to start off with getting your form down, right? Finding those areas to improve, and you get to that point, right? You progressionally develop. So yeah, a lot of focus on having your rules by your side. I tell people all the time, so many of us, even when we have our rules, we still struggle with getting the right answer, right? The last thing we need to focus on is memorization, but can you get the right rule, or can you type out an accurate full analysis even when you have the rule by your side? All right. Next, we've done the hard work for you. We've simplified the law. We've created step-by-step formulas for every portion of the bar. Let me pause there for a second. Essays, multiple choice, and PTs. We literally have a formula for how you go through that. So there is no winging it. There's no getting to the exam and letting the exam control you and you just freestyling. No, multiple choice. My first step is I skim the answer choices. My second step is I read the question. Third step, I look to see what the issue spot is, right? Et cetera, et cetera. I can't give you all the juice before you sign up. But the idea is there is a strategy for everything, right? And we have really good formulas and strategies for every portion of the exam. So you are, again, in control instead of being controlled. We've created attack sheets and detailed outlines. We've created flow charts. We've done all the hard stuff. So all you have to do is learn, apply, and improve. Learn the law, apply it, and improve. And you keep doing that repeatedly. All right, last one, support. There's the ability to ask questions, right? You have questions during bar prep, logistical questions, substantive questions, right? Most companies only offer digital support. With us, you have a team of attorneys, staff, and instructors to talk to. There's the ability to connect with other students. Traditionally, bar prep is an isolating experience. And this is the reality. 8 to 12 hours a day with no interaction with your company or with your classmates, right? The other people studying for the bar exam. With Legally Fit, right, with our Plus program, we have group workshops 2 to 4 times a week that create additional opportunities for connection, collaboration, and camaraderie. With the collaboration, we allow students to connect and form what we call sparring partners, where you can have a buddy, almost like a gym buddy, right? During bar prep, where you can quiz each other on the law. You can be accountability partners for making sure you're starting studying at a certain time that day, right? Or lasting to a certain time. So we just have a lot of opportunity for those that are interested. It's not required, but for those looking for a community, it is an add-on to what we offer. And then lastly, assistance with adjusting or adapting to bar prep. Whether something simply isn't working well or life happens and disrupts your flow, every student has to make adjustments during bar prep. Every single student, okay? Either small or big adjustments. When students make these adjustments on their own, it can be risky and or ineffective. And we just don't have that much room for risky and ineffective moves, right? So that's where having somebody with expertise to guide you, to keep you on track, is invaluable, right? If you're going through videos and you're spending too much time, how do you change that, right? We can help you. Oh my gosh, I got into a car accident and I lost 3 days of studying. How should I adjust? Ask us, right? And we can adjust with you, right? You don't want to make the wrong decisions and then put yourself now in a worse position. All right, so that's support, everybody. Here's a quick summary, right, on how we compare to some of those traditional companies that we know and have probably heard of, right? As you can see here, there's a list of check marks that we all have, okay? Recorded lectures, workshops, digital materials, printed materials, resources for every portion, right, et cetera. But here's where we stand apart. Customizable materials and study plan. Again, live lectures and workshops, something that's real and in front of you, opportunity for live feedback, opportunity to interact with with your classmates and peers, et cetera. Office hours, so you can get questions answered, and a supportive bar prep community, all right? So again, that's really how we are standing out. Here is the Legally Fit experience, right? I'm sure a lot of us are here in the boat of you are still exploring bar prep. If you're in that bucket, it starts by with us, you can book a consultation call where if you need to have a 15-minute call to ask any specific questions about your setup or why the program is or isn't a fit for you, you can start off with that support by just talking to us and we can walk through that conversation. You can also get some of our sample materials and lecture to see firsthand how great they are. And if you really desire, we'll even set you up with talking with a former Legally Fit student, right? We are not only not hiding our students and our success, we encourage it, right? Because they can tell you better than we can of just what their experience was and how much they enjoyed it. Next, early start options, right? We're depending on when your bar is, some of us are, again, starting really early. We have a lot of early start options. And even if you're studying for this exam in July, right, where the program starts in May, we still have all of April where you can start early. So we have the self-guided early start is the boat that you're in. For all those that are planning out much more in advance, we have early bar prep courses that I cannot recommend enough. Instead of focusing on just 10 weeks of bar prep, we offer a 12-week course that you take the semester leading into your program. So we offer it in September for the February exam and January for the July exam. So keep your eye out for that and right, put your name down as I'm interested. We'll give you more information. But that early bar prep course just does a lot of the early work of getting you prepared for bar prep. All right. And then Bar Success Strategy Call. The Bar Success Strategy Call is going to be a paid opportunity for a one-on-one coaching with me if you really want an hour-long detailed conversation as to like creating a game plan around you studying. Consultation call, 15 minutes, quick questions and answers of just trying to see if this is the right program. Bar Success Strategy is an hour dedicated with me of sitting down and game planning your attack. Next is orientation. We're going to have orientation always a week before bar prep. So we created an 11th week to bar prep because I want my students hitting the ground running once it's time, right? Without an orientation, you are starting week one with whatever subject, let's say contracts, and you are simultaneously trying to learn, what do I do on each day of bar prep? What does my schedule look like? Where does everything go in my portal? How do I submit essay? Like you're figuring out all these logistical things about bar prep. The same time you're learning about promissory estoppel and statute of frauds, right? Overwhelming. So I removed orientation and put it in its own week. So that way you can hit contracts week one, ready to go. And then that takes us into this section, right? This bottom part of our little chart here, and that we have learn phase, assess and strategize, and then attack plan execution. That's our 10-week program. All right. All that leads you to taking the bar exam with confidence. Okay. So here are some important dates for all those interested. We have Sunday, May 11th is our deadline to register for this July's bar prep. First day of orientation is Monday, May 12th. If anybody wants to sign up now and start studying early, you can also get orientation, previously recorded materials from last year's bar prep. So you can start studying immediately, but we're going to do live orientation as well on Monday, May 12th and during it that week. All right. First day of bar prep is Monday, May 19th, and the late registration deadline is Monday, May 26th. All right, so those are your important dates. All right, here is our pricing and a special offer that we have to you, okay? I see that everybody in here, right, has stayed, right? So awesome, I appreciate you guys for staying all the way to the end of this presentation. And as a reward, here is a discount, okay? On our Legally Fit Bar Prep Plus side, we're giving you $500 off for attending this workshop and making it to the end. To use this discount, you have to use it though within 5 days, okay? So if you're not sure, right, book a consultation call to get those last questions answered to make sure you can use this discount code. With the Bar Prep Plus, right, what you're getting is our entire program, but you're getting the access to those workshops 2 to 4 times a week. You're getting the additional support, the additional accountability, right? The additional camaraderie and support of your classmates, right? All those additional things we talked about, that is the program then for you. To give you a little bit of a backstory, Bar Prep Plus was the original program that Legally Fit had. The reality is that we do have some students that come to us and say, hey, you know what? Like, I just know and heard your materials are so great. I'm more of the type, like, just put me in a room, lock the door, close the window, and just let me work, get out of my way, right? I just need your outlines and your videos and let me do it from there. So if you're that type of student, then the Bar Prep program regular is for you, the 2200, where you can get it for a cheaper route, cheaper price, and you just simply get all of the information, right? Students are very successful with that as well. But again, my recommendation is always the Bar Prep Plus. Bar Prep is challenging. Why would you not want those workshops, the opportunity for immediate feedback, the support, right? All those things. All right. So those are the two programs. All right. The discount codes, if you go and sign up, I'll give you the links to sign up here and you'll get it via email as well. For Bar Prep, it's cheat code 300, right? That's just for the regular one. And for the Bar Prep Plus, the discount code is cheat code 500 for your $500 off of the Bar Prep Plus program. All right, really quickly, just to give you some of the guarantees that we include in our program, we have the all student guarantee. You get to retake Legally Fit's Bar Prep program until you pass, right? This is the notion that we are invested in you, right? This is not a like, come in, hope you pass. If not, see you later, sayonara. No, like we are invested in you as you are now investing in us. And so, yes, that's the first and foremost. Next, we even having some more fun ones that if you're graduating with a 3.5 or higher, if you don't pass, right, we'll give you your money back, right? If you were in an honors program, we give you your money back. Now, let me tell you, I don't plan on giving you your money back because we are going to help you pass, right? So that is why we put these guarantees out because we're that confident that you're going to pass. But of course, right, these are here and ready for you if we fell into that boat. But again, I'm confident that's not going to happen. All right. Take the next steps. Here are your QR codes. The one at the top is if you are ready to sign up now, click on that QR code and you can sign up for Bar Prep or Bar Prep Plus. Don't forget to put in your special discount code that you received today, cheat code 300 or cheat code 500, depending on which program you're doing. But if you also still have a few questions that we don't get answered in our Q&A session, you can also book a consultation call, 15 minutes with me, and I help walk through whether or not we're the right program for you. That QR code is at the bottom. Okay. And that takes us to the end of our presentation. Again, thank you all for staying engaged. I see the chat has a lot of comments in there. I can't wait to get to them. Great session. Here's the information if you want to follow us on social media, if you need to email somebody, you have ma@legallyfitstudent.com. And yeah, let's go ahead and now transition into the Q&A section. For all those that are going to leave at this point, it was great having you. Whether you take Legally Fit or not, I really hope this information gets you ready for your administration and your preparation. All right. Let me stop sharing screen and let me go to the Q&A section. Okay. All right. Interesting. I see you guys are saying that in the chat that there was some microphone issues, and that's very odd because we've never had any microphone issues. So I'll look into that. I hope that didn't affect you guys' ability to get all that information too much. But yeah, sorry about that for those that had a mic issue. All right, let's go to the Q&A now. I saw that in the chat. All right, so is 12 hours a stretch or do we take breaks in between? So you definitely take breaks in between, right? For the, when I say anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day. So a typical day for me would be like 9 to 12, take a break, hour lunch, right? And then go, let's say 1 to 3, take a nice other break. So pretty much in 3-hour chunks, take another 15-minute break, 30-minute break, and then come back, do another 3-hour stint, maybe get in a 30-minute workout, do another 3-hour stint, right? And that sounded like that was 12 hours, 4 3-hour stints. So that's some variation of how you can do it. But yeah, definitely want to take breaks. All right. Is there such a thing as studying too early for the bar exam? I'm thinking of taking the July 2026 bar, but I graduated about 4 years ago, so I'm not sure how much time I would need to be ready and prepared. So the answer to that question is yes and no, but more so no. Like, is it too early? No. The only thing I get a little concerned with is that if you study too early, there's just a longer time period that you have to hold on to all this information. So I really like the, like, if you're studying for July, I really like the January to July, right? Like extended period of January through April is like somewhat intensive, but it's more so like a ramp up, like you're building to that point. Maybe you're putting in 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week, something like that. And then you're getting to your 10 week and then able to put in that 60 hours, let's say. Extended period is necessary for those that know they're going to be working during the 10-week period and can't do 65 hours a week. You should and must do an extended bar prep so you can get those 600 hours in. So yeah, that's my answer. Can you ever study too early? No. But if you're going past the 6-month period, just consider what is part of your game plan to make sure you're revisiting the subjects so that you're retaining all of that. Okay. So yeah. How many times can we take the bar exam? That is going to be by state. I believe that most states allow you to take it as many times as you want. Right? They want your money, so they'll let you keep taking it. But there might be a few states out there that have a limit, but you'd have to check with your local state. All right. Let's see. What about early bar prep for those taking it in 2026? Also, I'm not sure which bar I want to take yet. I want to take Connecticut, but it'll be the first to start the next gen. How I was thinking, take the bar while I was in school. Okay, done it. Okay. So a lot in that question from Janelle. So let's talk about it. If you want to take 2026, again, we talked about Legally Fit's early bar prep program that I highly recommend, right? Let's also talk about Legally Fit regarding the exams that we cover. We started off as a company in the California bar exam. And now, and for some years now, for about 6 years, we have done UBE as well, and with success. We've helped students in New York, Denver, Texas, and a few other states as well. And so with the UBE students, there is one additional supplement that you get directly from the NCBE, and that is the Next Gen, the Everything Pack, the NCBE Everything Pack. So there's a small supplement that you add on. And then other than that, you plug and play Legally Fit, our strategies, you get our support, and that's how we tailor to the UBE. Now, as far as the next gen exam, for all those taking and considering the UBE, that's a very, very powerful question. And here's my recommendation. If you can choose a state that is not doing the next gen exam at this time period, that's personally what I would do. We just saw this with California last year where they and they didn't even like drastically change the format of the exam. They just changed like the proctoring and they moved it online and did these different things. And there was this big old, SHIT show, right? And so you don't want to be the first of its kind, in my opinion, especially with what's on the line. And so all that to say, like, if it were me, I would look to take the exam in a jurisdiction where I wasn't the first one doing the next gen. And so, yeah, there's a lot of states out there that are waiting themselves until 2027, 2028 and beyond, because as a state, they don't want to be the guinea pigs. So that is a personal decision. And that's my 2 cents on it. All right. How many times can we take? Is it possible to take the course working full time? So Alice, yes, you can take the course working full time as we discussed. And again, our schedule is very modular. And so the reality is that, like, let's say we have an essay day. Essay day has a full schedule, default given to you for a full 10 hours. Well, if it says do 6 essays in 10 hours, it's modular. You simply do, if you only have 5 hours, well, you do 3 essays in 5 hours. So again, remember, if you're working full time, always try to start studying early so you can ultimately make up for that. But we make it very easy if you do have other time commitments where, yeah, it's like each day you are in theory doing less. which is not ideal. It increases the difficulty of passing, but again, it's definitely doable. Just more prioritization. And when you're studying, you got to make every hour that you put in, right, as valuable as possible. No distractions, you're locked in, you're retaining, etc. But yes, all that to say, we work very often with people who are working. All right. So yes, I'm a single mom. Son practices 5 times a week. I work full time. There's any way I can start studying in May for February? Good. And the reason I'm saying this is that as an exam repeater, I needed time to make sure to knock it out once and for all. Yes, I'm a big proponent of if you need to, if you have life circumstances like this attendee just mentioned, right? Of I have a significant family responsibility, I have work responsibility. I have taken this before, and I haven't been successful. A lot of times we just jump back into the next exam, which doesn't give us enough time to really do what we need to do. So let's consider sometimes if we're in those positions, the following exam. So now we can create a comfortable long-term approach that actually gives us a true reasonable shot or great shot at passing. So yeah, attendee, I don't have a name there. If you wanted to start with Legally Fit early to start preparing for February of next year, you could start studying in May, and we could set you up with something like that. All right. What do I think about taking the UBE in February during classes or externship? Taking the bar exam, one, I don't think you can take the bar exam if you're still taking classes because you, right, typically need your JD completed. So I'm not sure in your circumstances if you will have your JD at that time or not. Check always your local, rules, your state's rules. But with that said, all you're telling me, the boat that I'm putting it in, is that you have other time commitments. And when you have other time commitments, again, it takes away from bar studying. So I would be very cautious doing that. I rather wait until I have complete dedicated time to studying if I know that's around the corner. If you know you're never going to get uninterrupted time, then yeah, jump in the saddle and let's go. But if you know, like, oh, I'm taking some classes, but if I wait 3 months, I won't have any jobs, any classes, anything like that, I would wait for that time period. Okay. All right. And then Menorah had her hand raised. Let's see if Menorah is still in here. Yes. Let me go ahead and unmute Menorah. Okay. All right, Menorah, you're allowed to talk now. What was your question?
Hi, Mr.
Aubrey.
Uh, Aubrey. I'm sorry, I was looking for your name, not because I'm illiterate. Thank
I
you so. I do have a real law degree. Thank you so very much for all of this. You have uplifted me and blessed me abundantly to no other comparison. Seriously. You've given me
Good.
so much hope in this hopelessness called the bar exam, in which, thank you so much, firstly. I would
Yes.
like to, yes, I would like to know, how can the webinar video recording and transcript be downloaded, please?
Yes. So we will be you know, doing some tech magic of like, reducing the size, getting it up online and doing all that process as soon as it's over. And so you'll be getting a follow-up email after the session, either tonight or tomorrow, giving you the information on how to watch the recording.
Oh, terrific. Thank you so much, Mr. Aubrey. I smiled as well, for the record, even though you can't
Awesome.
see me. Thank you so much. God bless you in the
You're
name of Jesus.
Thank you.
Take
You are so
care.
welcome. All right. Take care. Yes.
You as well.
So glad to hear. That's exactly what I wanted for everybody again to get that clarity. And as she said, right, like I hate that this space feels so hopeless, and so I'm happy we spread a little hope today. Danelle, let's talk personally. I see you wanted to talk more about the specific circumstances. That's going to be best for a consultation, right? 15 minutes to get into the depths of the detail of your particular circumstances. So use that consultation link and let's book a call to go further on your particulars. All right. Does anybody else have any questions they like to verbalize instead of putting in the chat. Yeah, Minora, you have
Yes, please. Sorry to harass you again. As far as the consultation, the 15 minutes to an hour consultation is concerned, is there a phone number that can simply be provided as opposed to that QR code link?
Unfortunately, I can't do that because I have a very, very tight and busy schedule. So what that does is like have windows where you can schedule a time with me because I handle the consultation calls. So yes, you'll have to use that link, and there's times you book a time and it works out best for both of us.
I think she
Okay,
might need
terrific,
just
Mr.
the
Aubrey.
link. Deandra, do you have just the link available? Maybe she's not able to do the QR code.
Oh
That
yeah,
as well. Thank you, both
Yeah.
of you.
Absolutely.
I don't have let me see if I have it real quick
You
on
keep
these.
talking and I'll find it and I'll put it in the
Oh,
chat. Oh, actually, I can't put in
I
the chat.
found
You
it.
have to get it. Okay, perfect.
All right, so there's the link if yeah, you want a clickable link. Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
To both of you again.
Yes. All right. So any other questions? Do we have any other questions?
There was one question in the Q&A. What is the best way to prep for a bar exam? I'm not sure what exactly they meant. If they're still in the room, maybe they could elaborate.
Yeah, Alexandra just raised her hand. Yeah, Alexandra.
Yes, I just wanted to ask like what was the best way to prep for the bar exam, which was meaning to like the resources or the ways because you already talked about like the schedule. So it would be like resources that I guess
Yeah.
we get in law school.
Yeah, so the best way to prep for the bar exam is going to be more or less like finding a prep company that you think is the best one for you and then following their program, right? You don't want to necessarily use law school resources. I'm happy you brought that up because a lot of times people think they can use their amazing outlines from law school, right? And so, no, you want to, the best thing you can do in law school is just like remember the concepts, like big picture wise, like learn and remember what an offer is and how a contract is formed and crim pro, right? Like try to remember those subjects as much as possible. But then ultimately, yeah, how do you prepare? 99% of students, they choose a bar prep company and then they follow that program. So that would be the way that one prepares. And then the other thing just to consider is if you need or want to start studying early for your exam, which I highly recommend. Again, I'm always on the air of the side of caution. We want to be either one and done with this thing or done with the next one, right? And so early studying is just better studying, and then it gives us that much higher of a chance of passing. Awesome. All right. Okay, everybody, I think we have, oh, can I repost the Q&R code? I'll do that. Rob said, I'm working full time and I'm struggling with finding the time to study. Any advice? Rob, yes, that is the difficulty when one is not a first time taker and that, cushy position of just like, I'm ready to graduate and I got nothing on my plate other than bar studying. So if you're in that position, what you have to do is take a look at your calendar, take a look at your schedule and see what can you reduce. I tell people work backwards from full time. So first thing is like, if it's work, can you financially pull off and can you request time off? Can you request the 10 weeks off to study? You can't get 10 weeks off. Can you get 7? Can you get 6? Can you get 5, right? Like how many can I get? All right. I can't get any weeks off. Can I get certain days off a week, right? Like you just start from the top as far as 10 weeks off and then get as close to that as possible. So yeah, that's the personal one and the difficult one. But again, that's more or less the method is like, look at what your time commitments are. Some of them are easy. I spend too much time, watching TV. I spend too much time doing this, doing that, like easily cut that out. If you have things that can't easily be cut out, then that's when you have to sit down, give it some thought. All right. Is the next gen the new format for the bar exam? Yes, Alice. So for all the states that are UBE, next gen is basically they're changing like format and substantively the exam. You still have to know the law, but there's some other portions that are coming out. So yes, I'm not super well versed right now. I'm still focused on California and the current version of the UBE exam. So if you're taking the next gen exam, then you're going to want to find a different bar prep company. For all those taking the UBE exam as is with the multiple choice, the essay, and the PT, we got you. All right. Does this program heavily rely on memorization? Asked by Stephanie. So Stephanie, if we remember that slide, right, we mentioned that one of the mindset shifts is that we do not want to obsess over memorization. And that is a trending theme, and that memorization is important, but it is not the top of our list as far as what we focus on. What we focus on first is understanding of the law, because if you understand the law, you can better memorize it. But we focus on understanding, and then also we focus on a lot of practice applying the law. Because guess what? If you apply the law, you're going to actually memorize those rules. So that's back to just like you pick it up, you see it every day, you play with it, you analyze it. That's how you ultimately memorize, in my opinion. So yes, do we memorize? Yes. Is it important? Yes. But it's something that it's like the Mr. Miyagi effect. I have you doing things and it's in the background. You don't even realize you're actually memorizing. The concentrated memorization comes at the end of the program. And that's pretty standard. That aspect is standard. That's not unique. Like most companies are going to tell you, reputable companies are going to tell you, do not focus on memorization starting day one. All right.
I want to add a little tidbit for Rob. If you're unable to get the time off that DeAndre recommended, you would be a perfect candidate for starting early. So depending on which exam, if you're taking the July exam, if you sign up now, you have a whole month in advance to start. That will help pick up the slack of those hours that you can't dedicate during the regular 10-week period. So we offer that early start to our students.
Yes. And that, everybody, for all those that like are in that position, you're taking July, and you could still start, somewhat early, Rob, too, and by starting in April, right? You sign up today, tomorrow, etc. You can utilize this period between now and May 12th just to get ahead a little bit. But for all those, whether it's July or beyond, and they feel a little worried about having to work during bar prep, like, again, take control by starting early. That's how you counterbalance that issue. Start early. All right. I see thank yous in the chat, thank yous in the Q&As. I think we might be there. Okay, yes, we have another question. If I want to start in the summer for February bar prep, can I sign up now to do early bar prep? So you want to start in the summer for February bar, can I sign up now? Yes. So the early bar prep in February, for February starts in September. And yes, you can sign up now. Monique, are those links for February open?
They are not open, but if she's ready, I could make that available in the near future.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll be in contact with you or reach out to us if need to be handled sooner. So Monique can get that set up if you like to get that squared away. But yeah, I think our enrollment period for that typically is later.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in August, but if you want to get locked in, we can go ahead and get that set up for you. All right. Okay, another question. Yes, you're welcome. Good. You're using the match to the subject. Yes. And I remember talking to you. Yeah, awesome. That's my colleges of law student. And so yes, glad to hear the law school resources are helping you too. Good. Okay, Minora said, how do I combat cognitive weakness that are out of my control, extremely diminishing my memory and concentration, in addition to starting early and added repetition? So yes, when we have learning disabilities, one thing obviously is to know our learning disability and try to work through and discover tools that help us individually to the best of our ability. Specifically speaking to the things that you mentioned of cognitive weaknesses, issues with memory and concentration. Yeah, there's going to be individual things that, again, you're going to want to experiment with and find successful ways to focus and concentrate. whether it's tools, medication, supplements, knowing how to take breaks, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pomodoro technique. I've used that to increase focus at different times. So there's tools. And then other than that, I think, again, back to what's in my realm is making sure you choose a company that's like supportive of these things, right? If it's already hard to keep focus, right? Well, you don't want to choose a company that has materials that are easy to, right, get distracted or be bored in. So something that's going to keep you engaged and keep you stimulated and activated in your learning. So that's something I would think is very important. And then after that, it is what you mentioned, right? Repetition, starting early and just kind of like taking a longer approach and really drilling it in. This becomes something that you live and breathe until you're over it. And overall, I think it's a good mindset for everybody. Like the bar exam is not something that you just get over. It's something that you get through, right? So really lean into bar prep, lean into this life. But this is not something that you just like take as a quick, spoonful as medicine. Is like, I'm over it. No, like lean in and have fun learning contracts. Lean in and have fun learning property and be one with that law. Because yeah, like you have to, right? You have to learn this stuff anyway. You have to apply it, and that's what helps you retain it for that long period of time. So that'd be my answer there. Okay. All right. Any other last questions? We'll end here in the next 4 minutes to end at the 30-minute mark. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Oh. How long is the bar exam? So the bar exam depends on what jurisdiction you're taking it in. If you're taking the California exam, it is a 2-day exam. And actually, excuse me, all the bar exams actually changed. California used to be different. So yeah, the bar exam is 2 days. And typically, and it ranges in this case, but 3-hour stints of testing within breaks. But yeah, 2 days. Awesome. And then Manor, did you have another question to ask?
Yes, please, Mr. Aubrey. Thank you very much for the encouragement that you just shared with your wisdom. You mentioned a P word. I think it was like Pomodoro or something of that. How do I spell that word?
Yeah, Pomodoro. Pomodoro
Thank
technique.
you.
Yes,
Thank you
check
very
it out.
much.
It's really awesome.
Thank you. I
tried it,
definitely will.
I was really surprised at how effective it was. Basically, the concept is you do 25 minutes of work and a 5-minute break. 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break. And like my first thought was like, what? I don't have time for 5-minute breaks that often. And like, I'm not gonna get anything done. And I tried it and it was like, no, wow, like you have to obviously keep it just a 5-minute break. And you can't do too many things in 5 minutes. So it's just like get up, stretch, like step outside for a second, but you have to keep it just 5 minutes. But yeah, it really kept me, locked in and was something that I highly recommend trying. So
thank you very much, Mr. Aubrey.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, everybody. Well, this was again great. First and foremost, I hope no matter what, that everybody here gains some information that is going to help them pass the bar, whether you take Legally Fit or not. All right, that's first and foremost. But second, I definitely hope that we see all of you all in our workshops, in our program, and that you choose us as your trusted provider to make sure you pass this exam. This is a passion of mine. I graduated again with a desire to help students get over this hurdle. And I saw that there was such a need for something that was improved on what already existed, that it wasn't addressing the needs of the modern student. And so for 11 years, right, instead of practicing, I've dedicated my career towards helping you all. And that's what we do. And we love it. And we get to do it every day. So we hope that you guys have a great, enjoyable day, weekend, and ultimately bar exam experience. And yeah, look out for the emails and more information, and we'll see you all soon. All right, take care.